Wendy Brockman. Welcome to Denver Decides. Denver Decides is a community partnership dedicated to transparent and accessible elections. The partnership includes the Inter-Neighborhood Cooperation, the League of Women Voters of Denver, Historic Denver, and is presented by Denver 8 TV. Today, we are presenting a runoff candidate forum for the office of Denver City Council member representing District 10, which is located right in the heart of the city of Denver. Now, going into the May 7th municipal election, 4 candidates were on the ballot vying to represent District 10 for City Council, but none of the 4 were able to garner a clear majority of the vote. So, a runoff election is now scheduled for Tuesday, June 4th. The top 2 vote getters will face off one more time, and they are here with us this evening. Please welcome Wayne New and Chris Hines.
Hey.
We will begin with 1-minute opening statements from each candidate, and we're going to go in the order the candidates will appear on the June 4th ballot. So we are going to start with Wayne New. You have 1 minute.
Great. Thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for arranging this debate tonight. My professional life has been a blend of public service and business. First with children's hospitals as well as city government. You know, my first term as council and my business experience makes me the most qualified candidate for office. District 10 is just so beautiful and diverse, you know, with the art, the history, the unique neighborhoods, the parks, its character, and the vibrancy. It's just truly, I love the district, that heart of Denver. Some improvements that we've made in our neighborhoods in District 10, the development of the Golden Triangle Creative District we have here to promote arts and culture. Capitol Hill parking, we've studied it. Funding the traffic lights, Botanic Gardens, and one of the most important is we kept the Congress Park pool open for the families and kids this year and found the funding for it. I really want to continue serving you, and I really appreciate your vote and look forward to be supported for re-election.
Thank you, Wayne. And now an opening statement from Chris Hines.
Hello, my name is Chris Hines, and I would love to have your vote for Denver City Council's District 10. I grew up in rural Texas. I'm the only child of a single mom. Dad never graduated high school. Mom cleaned houses growing up. I was very fortunate to get a scholarship to go to college. I was the first in my family to do that, and I went to Southern Methodist University in Dallas. I ended up with a computer science degree, and then I went back to SMU to get an MBA in finance. I moved to Colorado in 2007, and it was so that I could pursue the rugged outdoor lifestyle that a lot of people pursue. But the reason why I stayed is I took a job working in finance for a global software company. So I sat and managed the budget. So that's a little bit about me, and I apologize for tripping over my words, but I hope to earn your vote in the next 30 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. And now to the first of our submitted questions. Each candidate is going to have 1 minute to answer, and we're going to go in the reverse order from the opening statements. So you will start first with this question, Chris. What could be done and what would you support for improving the experience of 6th Avenue through District 10?
So 6th Avenue is obviously it's a thoroughfare that has a highway, and then it suddenly, as it gets into the city of Denver from the west, it turns into a thoroughfare. But 6th is very it's a very diverse and vibrant area of the city. It also is very well coupled with 8th, and then 7th, the boulevard in between, is a complicated street as well. So ultimately, I think that most of the majority of people who commute into the city commute by car, and by 2040 we're expecting an additional 200,000 people to move to the city of Denver, and so we must think beyond the car. At some point we're going to have to make sure that our busted and broken sidewalks are fixed, that we have a strong protected bike lane, and we improve our mass transit, and that will ultimately get people out of cars
I'm
help
going to
us.
stop you there because of time. Same question for you, Wayne.
Great. Well, thank you for asking the question. We just finished the Congress Park traffic study with recommendations on how to improve traffic on 6th, 8th, and 13th and 14th. We're looking at that crossing traffic, cut-through traffic, speeding, and actually the actual pedestrian safety crossing the streets on 6th and 8th are very dangerous for our pedestrians now. We're looking at trying to reduce the number of lanes on 6th Avenue. We're looking at that issue and having a charrette just to make sure we study that. It's also very interesting to me is if you look underneath 6th Avenue now, the old streetcar rails are still there. And I wish as our transit on this, we're going to have to address transit and transportation in the future. And these arterials like 6th and 8th and 13th and 14th will be addressed. And I sure wish that we could hopefully come back with a streetcar as an alternative. But pedestrian safety is critical crossing 6th.
All right, thank you. This is question number 2. This time, Wayne, you will begin. The Evans School has been restored, but continues to sit vacant. What could you do as a council member to urge that the Evans School be actively used, adding to the vibrancy of the Golden Triangle?
Evans School is just beautiful. If you've been inside of it, it's just a perfectly and wonderfully restored building. One thing I have been trying to do, I tried to talk to the Anschutz Foundation to try to move the Western art collection that they have downtown to the Evans building. It would be a wonderful new gallery and a museum and fits right into the Creative Arts District of Golden Triangle and right down the street from the Art Museum. We're still pushing for that. They've got that whole block, so there'll be other commercial and office development coming around the Evans School. But when I met with one of the developers or architects who mentioned renovating the Evans School, they're trying to meet with the neighborhood to decide how to create some kind of space and activity space that the neighborhood really needs. So it's going to be a wonderful future, and I hope that we can get that art museum open there for the Western collection.
Chris, same question.
So that area is a beautiful location, and I agree that it's certainly underutilized. One of the things that Golden Triangle is missing is it has the Golden Triangle Creative District, but that's predominantly business interests in the neighborhood. I think that one of the things that we really could do to help activate it, certainly we want to engage the neighbors and make sure that whatever development occurs is beneficial for the neighbors around it, and so I know that the RNO has disbanded as of I think last December, the holiday meeting for the GTCD. I would favor recreating an RNO, a neighborhood organization of actual residents in the neighborhood, and move forward with that as the first topic for the new RNO.
All right, thank you. This is question number 3, and Chris, you'll go first on this one. Some citizens have complained that city government has not listened to their voice before, during, and after adoption of Denver Right. What will you do to reach out to neighborhood leaders going forward to engage their voice in citywide decisions that affect their members?
So I actually sat on Blueprint and was part of a lot of those conversations, and Blueprint actually did quite a bit of engagement in the neighborhood, but that's an overall plan for the entire city. At this point, we're zooming into some of the neighborhood plans, and this is kind of where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. And so just 2 days ago, the reason why I wasn't here for the debates on Tuesday was the East Central neighborhood plan was meeting, and I attended it, and there were 75 to 100 people there. And I think it's important for us to continue the conversations at the neighborhood level, and I think it's very important for our representatives to be active and engaged in those conversations.
All right, Wayne?
I think listening is one of our true service objectives in our office, and I have a wonderful staff, and we're we're addressing all the quality of life issues we hear from residents every day. We want to be out in the community. Every Friday morning, I have a community coffee where I can meet with residents. We have a great newsletter that goes out every other month. And one of the things that I enjoy the most is on every major city issue, I do surveys with my constituents. And I want their feedback and I want their opinions. And we have 800 to 1,000 people who participate in our surveys. And it's just great input for me. And it helps me understand what's on your mind and how you feel about an issue and how I'm going to vote in City Council. It's just great feedback. We get 20 pages of comments, and it's most thoughtful and provocative, and it's just wonderful comments. And I really appreciate the feedback, and we want to be out there in the community because that's where we have to be. It's so difficult for residents to come down to the city county building. We need to be out there more often.
All right, that brings us to our final round of submitted questions, and we're going to begin with Wayne on this one. From viewers from the first forum of the race, they ask, quote, "Seriously, why should I vote for you versus the other candidate?"
Well, like I said in my opening statement, I really feel like I'm the most qualified candidate. You know, I have over 30 years of hospital management experience with children's hospitals, and managing a hospital is just like city government. It's a combination of business and public service. I love seeing those children go home from a hospital. I love being able to serve the constituents here in Denver. So I feel like I have that experience, have that background, I have that dedication. In my business background of actually being a chief operating officer in Children's Hospital, you're managing operations. So I get into the operations of the city. We found ways to improve the operations so that it improves the quality of life and service to our citizens, and we've done it with several city departments. We got a lot of work to do, but we're not finished, and that's where I want, in my next 4 years, I want to continue to improve the service and the quality of life for our residents.
Same question for Chris.
So I think that I bring a lot of diverse knowledge to City Council. First of all, I also have the business experience setting and managing the budget of a global software company. I have the background. I have an MBA in finance, but also I bring some other diverse perspectives that the council doesn't have. The computer science background and the technology, I think that's important. I think that our government should embrace more technology. Also, the disability background. The city council chambers will have to be physically modified for me. And I think it's important. 1 in 4 Americans has a disability, and that's a voice that we've never had on council. Beyond that, I think that I'm very connected with the state level as well. So that's another perspective that I would have. I have worked in the state level, and I've proven policy experience. I have a law with my name on it that Governor Hickenlooper signed into law last May, and it shows that I can hit the ground running.
All right, thank you. So for this next round, we're going to be, the candidates are going to be asking each other questions, and you're each going to have 1 minute to respond. So Wayne, we're going to go in ballot order, so you get to ask the first question.
Okay. Chris, I'm really concerned about your statements and stance on densifying on our neighborhoods, especially the comments that you made being about pro-development, pro-density, and also creating duplexes and fourplexes instead of single-family homes. I just want to know, how do you feel? Do you think your stance on densification will help you destroy our neighborhoods and have a detrimental effect on the quality of life in our neighborhoods?
So I think it's important for us to have development that is for the city and for the neighborhood, not to the neighborhood. And I hear the same complaints, and I'm not on city council right now, so it isn't as if I'm creating the issues. But here in Golden Triangle, we have sidewalk closures, we have street closures, we have construction that a lot of the neighbors would say is out of control. It's not something that is something that I've done because I'm not on council yet, but it's certainly something that a lot of people are concerned about throughout the district, and I would say. 67% of Denver residents live in single-family homes. If we're expecting an additional 200,000 people to move to the city of Denver, we have to do some gentle increases. And that missing middle, the duplexes and fourplexes, are way better than these 100, unit, 16-story skyscrapers.
Chris, you now may ask a question to Wayne.
Many say, thank you. Many say you represent your immediate neighbors in Cherry Creek, not the entire district. Campaign contributions reflect that more than 80% of your in-district and non-developer campaign contributions are from Cherry Creek. In the last debate, you even stated that you wanted to represent Cherry Creek before catching yourself. Why would voters why would voters who feel they're not counted think you'll somehow change in a second term?
Well, Chris, it's just not true what you're saying. You know, only 30 to 35% of my donations have come from Cherry Creek. I've got a wide representation of donation across the district. As a matter of fact, over 70% of all my donations come within District 10, where only 20% of your donations come within District 10, and only 75 to 80% come from outside of District 10. I think, you know, if you look at donations, if that's what you're focusing on, I think you'll see that I have greater representation and support within District 10 than you do.
All right, let's continue with our questioning. Chris, you may ask another question of Wayne.
Okay. In 2015, you said your top two issues were sidewalks and homelessness. Yet last time we were on the stage, you said both were worse, and you blamed it on the mayor. Your job is to work with the mayor. Why should we keep you in office if you're ineffective at getting in your position of getting anything done?
Yeah. When we first came into office, Councilwoman Kanish and I had a retreat on homelessness. We looked at best practices across the nation. We addressed the issues we're talking about now: housing first, treatment for addiction and mental illness, and tribe training. All those are just best practices we found across the country. We presented all these to the mayor, and the mayor just would not fund these. So it wasn't just me. It was a council. I had great council support. We had ways that we tried to help with homelessness and try to increase the funding. We just are desperate to increase our funding for homeless, and that's what citizens are telling us by defeating Initiative 300. We've got to do a better job of getting resources, especially with the wonderful providers we have that are providing the services for the homeless now. So it's all about funding, Chris, and I think we know how to put the plan together, and I think we know how to fund it, and the citizens are surely telling us to do that.
All right, Wayne, do you have another question?
Sure. Chris, what do you think the qualifications are for being a councilman in District 10?
So the qualifications, I'm like, which camera? The qualifications are the number one job of someone in city council is constituent services. I think that listening to the people and understanding what the needs are of the district is top priority. So I would, unlike the current District 10 office, I would make sure that we were fully staffed. Having just one person on staff, I don't believe is enough, and it shows. I mean, people say that they call your office and they don't get a response at all. There was a gentleman in Capitol Hill who said he reached out several times and never got a response. So we circulated a petition. He got 70 signatures, submitted it to the District 10 office, and still got no response. So the step one is to make sure that we listen, and so constituent services is the number one priority.
All right, Wayne, you can ask another question.
Okay. Chris, the city has a multi-billion-dollar budget with thousands of employees, you know. What specific examples can you give to managing a complex operation such as Denver? And I mean a complex operation, and give me specific examples.
Thank you. So I actually set and managed the budget for a global software company. It had multiple currencies. We actually translated. I was responsible for translating the currencies. We had 7 different foreign currencies into U.S. dollars, and so it was we had offices all over the world. We had a development office in India. We had an office in Japan, in Tokyo. We had an office in Switzerland, in London, and it was my job to work with the accounting offices of all those organizations around the world. So certainly it required a lot of work. It required having my phone on all day and all night. I knew who was calling me based on the time of day when they were calling. But certainly setting and managing a global budget of a global software company is a complicated task, much like the city of Denver.
All right, Chris, you may ask a question for Wayne.
Excuse me. I think that a lot of people in this race are wondering what kind of politician you are and whether you're honest with people. I say that because you're an independent, but you were a Republican for most of your life, and you've given money to Cory Gardner. And then you said recently that you oppose higher density, but you spent the last 4 years voting for almost every single upzoning that came before City Council, including Holly, and including just 2 Mondays ago, $500,000 for ADUs. So you've been developers' best friends on council, and you're taking a ton of money from them. So I'm just wondering, who are you?
Thank you for asking that. It's very interesting. My background has been, this is a nonpartisan race, and politics doesn't enter into it, and I don't know why you're bringing it into it so strongly. I've been a Republican, I've been a Democrat, I've been a Dixiecrat, I've been independent now for 6 or 7 years. I did vote for Cory Gardner, but I voted for Hickenlooper. I vote for the person that's going to represent our people the best. In terms of development, Chris, I actually, for 8 years in Cherry Creek, I actually sued a developer with residents to change the building for them. I'm also presently being sued by a developer right now for misuse of a zoning code, and it's not being applied correctly. So when you're saying developers are my friends, maybe they are giving me some money, but they surely listen to me. I really make them abide by the zoning code, and we address that in every neighborhood that we have. I just attended a Cherry Creek East development meeting tonight, talking about a development project there, and the residents are listening. They know I'm there.
I'm going to stop you there.
To defend them.
Brings us to our last round of our one-on-one questions with the candidates for City Council District 10. So, Chris, you have a final question for Wayne?
I'm proud to say that 3 former Denver City Council people and current District 10 residents have all endorsed my campaign. Susan Barnes-Gilt, Kathleen McKenzie, and Ed Thomas all obviously know what a city council job is about, and none of them have endorsed you for a second term. Literally no one who's actually done your job supports you for re-election. Isn't that a message to voters that you don't deserve another term?
No, I don't see that at all. What I do is I listen to my constituents. Those are former city council, and they've done a good job. So I have no complaints about what they've done. My concern is the citizens of our district and how we provide the quality of life and the protection of those citizens' rights in our city. So I appreciate their comments. I appreciate their feelings about that. But the most important thing are the voters of this district and how they feel can do the best job. And I feel like I'm the most qualified, and I will do the better job, much better job than you will do.
Wayne, do you have a final question?
Chris, Chris, based on your campaign, you go by the 20-minute access idea, which I think is a very interesting idea. Can you give me specifics about how you plan to implement this idea and how you would fund it, especially fund it?
So the 20-minute neighborhood idea, I think that's what you're talking about, is all about returning the neighborhoods back to the people, getting out of cars. So step one, we want to fix our busted and broken sidewalks, because if we have 20-minute access with good sidewalks, it's a bigger radius than a access with bad sidewalks. We also want to make sure that we install a protected bike lane network. We want to make sure that we end our food deserts. So basically, the idea of the 20-minute neighborhood is that we have everything we need to survive and thrive within a 20-minute walk, ride, or roll. As far as funding, and I've been on record about how I think that the city should manage our sidewalks, and I support Walk Denver's idea of having a tax per linear foot. It's $1 per linear foot tax. It would be it would be added to your water bill once a year, and I think that's way better for a lot of reasons that I'm about to run out of time to respond.
All right, that's the last of our questions. Now each candidate will have 90 seconds for a closing statement. And we're going to reverse the order from the opening statements, which means we're going to begin with Chris Hines.
A year ago, people asked me if I could be more than just the disability candidate. Well, a year later, no one's asking that. I've used the disability term access to show that access is something that we all need. We all need access to housing, transportation, and representation, no matter who you are. Today, I've received more than 70 endorsements from elected officials and organizations, including the Denver and state Democratic parties. While I happen to be a Democrat, Republicans have also endorsed my candidacy. My campaign goes beyond party divides and demonstrates how I can create consensus. That's the skill I use to get a law named after me. And if people are naming laws after me as a private citizen, imagine what I could do as an elected official. We need a strong, energetic champion who will fight for access for everyone in District 10 in Denver. We need someone who will fight on behalf of residents so that we can enforce existing laws on parking restrictions, noise, green space, and landscaping. Development today, and frankly the last 4 years, is making life in many of the District 10 neighborhoods miserable. If you want someone who's going to fight for freedom to get from A to B, fight on behalf of the people for better access to parks and other places where you can get to know your neighbors, and fight for strong communication between the District 10 office and the people, I'm here for you. I'm Chris Hines. I want to be your Denver City Council District 10 councilperson. My personal cell number is 303-717-9174. Thank you.
Now, a closing statement
Thank you.
from Wayne New.
When I listen to citizens, they are all concerned about the major citywide issues that we're all facing, transportation, homelessness, and affordable housing. You know, I have funding ideas and alternatives for that, and I want to seek your support and advice as we address those big issues in the future. Also, residents tell us all about the quality of life issues we've got. We've got issues with traffic congestion, pedestrian and bicycle safety, parking, cut-through traffic, speeding, stop sign violations, crime prevention. And what's amazing to me, we really got to have education on basic driver courtesy. I see so many people just disobeying public and pedestrian safety. I've worked diligently with Public Works and the police, and I will do that in the future to address these issues. But the city's got to listen to you better. They've got to understand your needs and make sure they talk to you about how we make improvements. You've got to have a voice in that. Enforcement is a big, big issue that we haven't mentioned in this campaign. It is things that we've looked at in every topic of each city department's responsibility. Zoning, areas of zoning, parking management, traffic control, neighborhood impacts, building permits, short-term rentals, and minority participation in city contracts. We've got to make sure that we address those issues in all those departments. And if we don't, and we all have established rules and regulations on most of these issues, what's very frustrating. So we've got to make sure we have.
Thank you, Wayne. I'm going to have to stop you there. All right, that wraps our runoff forum for candidates vying for District 10 on Denver City Council. Let's give them a round of applause, Wayne New and Chris Hines. Our thanks also to the Denver Decides partners, which include Interneighborhood Cooperation, the League of Women Voters of Denver, and Historic Denver. And this is presented by Denver 8 TV. Also, we want to extend thanks to the staff and management of the Denver Art Museum and Christy Bassiner, the Director of Communications and Public Affairs, for providing us this amazing setting. We hope we've given you a fair look at each candidate vying to represent District 10 on Denver City Council. Be sure you have voted and return your ballot by 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June 4th. I will not be giving out my personal cell, so make a note. For complete election information, go online to denverdecides.org. I'm Wendy Brockman. Thanks for joining us.